Good morning, good morning, good morning to my beloved cousin, Command Sergeant Major U.S. Army retired, Corbin Skerrit, born in St. Joseph, Dominica, and Corbin over more than 30 years. I know you served that long in the service in the U.S. Army. I've been meaning to interview you about your time, and this is the day the Lord has made. So today's date, 26, I believe, July 2026. We're going to have a conversation in a way that I believe will not just merely be focused on our familial relationship, which we're very proud of, but what it is you can say in way of service principles, in way of value engineering. So long after you and I have departed from this earth, young people, if we are able to survive as a human species, young people will come over this interview or come across this interview and glean some knowledge from it that can help them in way of disciplined effort, industrious effort, honesty, and the principle of service to community and nation, either in the civilian scope or civilian sector or in the military sector. Good morning, Corbin. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. Good morning.
Morning. And where are you speaking to me from today?
I'm speaking with you from Columbia, South Carolina.
Outstanding. And Corbin is Corbin, Corbin, and Skerrit is Skerrit. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And cousin Corbin, where were you born and when were you born?
I was born in the village of St. Joseph, Dominica. I was born in 30 September 1959.
So I take it you're a Capricorn as well.
I'm a Libra.
Okay. Okay. I thought 30. You said 3rd December?
30 September 59.
Oh, you said September or September. Okay, I'm sorry.
September. That's
okay,
correct.
I thought I heard December. I'm sorry.
No, September. My brother Chris was born in December.
Okay. Let me share this with you, brother Corbin. I was trying to get something here, but I don't know what happened to it. Can you see this?
I can see myself in the background of a name in front of me.
And who's the gentleman with the flag next to him? Can you see that gentleman?
I cannot see that picture, but you presented earlier. So the gentleman with the flag, that is me, and that picture was taken. I think, in Grafenwehr, Germany.
Okay, it was taken in Germany.
Yes.
Okay. Let me. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get it in the right place, but
it's upside down, Gabe.
I realize. That's why I'm trying to get it all set. Let me see if this is better. Is this better?
That's correct.
Okay. So who's this gentleman?
That young man in this picture, that's me. That picture was taken in 2004 in Grafenwehr, Germany, right before we were doing our preparation for deployment to Iraq.
Okay, and why were you in that uniform? And what uniform is this? I mean, for me, I know what it is, but this is a uniform.
The uniform I'm wearing is what we call the U.S. Army field uniform.
Okay.
And that's me in that uniform. I was the Command Sergeant Major of the 18th Corps Support Group in Grafenwehr, Germany. What we do as the 18th Corps Support Group, we provide overall logistics for the entire footprint of Grafenwehr. And our intent was our training we were conducting is to deploy to Iraq to also provide logistics to the entire Baghdad operational area.
Okay, and Corbin, we're going to come into more detail, but I wanted to put that out there because at that time your rank was what?
At that time, my rank was a Command Sergeant Major, which is the highest enlisted rank any enlisted member can earn in the military.
Indeed, and by that time you've been in the military for how many years?
By that time, I've been in the military for about 25 years.
25 years. And in total,
Yes.
before you retired, honorably discharged, what was the total commitment that you gave?
31 years.
31 years. I remember when I was in college, you visited me. I think it was 84, 85, and I took you around Washington. I took you to Howard University. I took you to the Potomac River. At that time, I was a dock steward working on the waterfront at 80 boats, one of which later at one point was Donald Trump's boat.
Yeah.
But more on that later. But you would come down to Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland. Tell us about that. Why would you come to Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland?
In 1984, 85, just recently when I first came back from Germany, that was my first duty station in Germany. I was stationed in a small installation named Galstedt, right outside of Bremerhaven, which is the main Germany port, and that's the main U.S. port. Being stationed at Fort Stewart, I was on my way to Aberdeen for training. During that time, we had a new piece of equipment by the name of X. The M1 was being filled, and my travel to Aberdeen was to learn about that piece of equipment.
That's right, because the M1A1 was replacing, I think, what, the M48 or something like that?
The M1A1 Abraham replaced the M60. They had the M60A3, which the M60 was replaced. The M60 replaced the M48. Very similar tank, but the M60 was a little bit more lethal and provide a little bit more force protection.
Indeed. And would you say that for most of the time in the service, you were a tank specialist?
Throughout my entire duration of my Army career, I have been a tank specialist and an automotive specialist.
Okay. So what does that mean in essence? You would fix the equipment?
In essence, what that means, any Army equipment that have a set of wheels or motor, my responsibility was to repair that piece of equipment for whatever malfunction that piece of equipment occurs.
Okay. So let's do this now. What I'll do is I'll drop the picture. We'll come back to that later. And what I'm going to ask you is a little bit about what it was growing up. You know, you were born on September 30th, 1959 in the village of St. Joseph. And your mother, Geraldine John Baptist, was the younger sister of my mother, Alberta, at that time Christian.
That's correct.
And tell us about what it was like growing up in St. Joseph and Papi and the family members.
Well, growing up in St. Joseph as a young man, it's pretty interesting. St. Joseph is one of the bigger parish in Dominica, one of the most vibrant village. Growing up there it was tough, but very interesting because we did not come from wealth, and we totally rely on my grandfather, Papi, which is Aaron John Baptist, for guidance, for mentorship, for leadership, and just life experience. I grew up in St. Joseph and I attended the school in St. Joseph. I also played sports for the school. I played cricket, I played volleyball, and I ran cross country.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. And tell me a little bit about your siblings, your brothers and sisters.
For my brothers and sisters, my mom had 9 kids, which is Carlton, which is now was the oldest, and the youngest is Runa. So I fell as the third kids of my mom, third boy of my mom. So
I remember it like this. I remember Carlton.
Yeah, I stand corrected. I'm the 4th kid of my mom because it's Carlton, Leandra, which we call sister, Chris Ford, which we call brother, and then myself.
Yes. We also call Chrisford. We never call Chrisford Chrisford. We call him Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, yes.
Yes, yes. And then
he's better known by brother because that's what most people call him home.
Yeah, that's what we call him. We call Leandra sister, and they called
Yes,
Emmanuel brother.
brother.
Yeah.
And I was also known as Piper while going to school. So most people in the village know me as Piper.
Okay. Wonder why? Why would they call you Piper, Corbin?
I really want to ask that question. Well, I remember I was while I was in school, in Dominica, once you go through the grade school process, when you hit a certain age, if you are advancing in school, you will segregate it from the rest of the student and put into what they call a special class for common entrance preparation.
Yeah.
I happened to be in that class, and we were tasked as part of our homework to come up with a poem. And my poem was based on what I call a fictional character named Piper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. And just for those who will be listening to this interview, the common entrance exam was the exam that you took to go from elementary school to high school. In those days, there were only 4 high schools on the island:
Yes.
the Grammar School and the St. Mary's Academy for boys, and the Convent High School and the Wesley High School for girls. So you're in there and so on. But let's get back to the family. So you have Carlton, Leandra, Christopher or brother. Then you have Corbin. Then you have McRoy.
McRoy. Then I have Paula, Clarin, Verlin, and Runa.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're living. So when I remembered when I'd come so the only place that I stayed, the only place I stayed with any regularity outside our home, apart from being a cadet, was at Pappy's home there in the yard with my process next to Maslin and so on. I did go once to Marigat and I did go once to Daly Seas, where our grandfather Pappy came from. Our grandmother, Virginia Austri, was from Castle Bruce, but I didn't know her. Did you remember her at all? I didn't remember because I was born in 61.
No, I could not remember her at all because she had passed before I was born.
Yeah. I think she passed in 61, but you would have been very little.
When I was a kid, I could not remember her. I have no recollection of my grandmother on my mother's side, nor do I have any recollection of my grandmother by my father's side. My father's name was Ralph Skerrit.
Yes.
Also from St. Joseph as well.
Yes, yes.
So
is he related to the Dominica Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit?
Yes, the Skerrit is a very small family in Dominica because when you follow the Skerrit roots, it was actually the Skerrit were migrated from Montserrat because of a great-great-great-grandfather, and his sibling was a high school school principal, and he was transferred from Montserrat to Dominica to teach school back in the days. And during that time, he brought his first cousin with him, and that contributed to the Roosevelt Skerrit side of the family. And we were on my great-great-grandfather's side of the family. So yes, we are related.
Indeed. So let me ask you, Brother Corbin. So you were at the grade school. Tell us what it was like in St. Joseph in those days.
Growing up in St. Joseph was somewhat tough, but the people in the village really took care of the kids growing up. We all went to in St. Joseph. We had 2 schools. We had what we call the lower school and the upper school, which is all of the lower grades were down in the school in the bottom of the hill, and all of the upper grades were up in the school in the top of the hill. They were really co-located. The St. Joseph is I think the population, I have no idea what the population is, but however, it's pretty dense, and we cannot separate the village into 4 sections, what we call Hell Street, which is La Affair, what we call Ghetto, which is Back Street, what we call Grotto, which is up the river, and what we call Harlem, which is up the Mon. So, so the village was segregated into four districts per se. And growing up in St. Joseph, we all intermingled with each other because there was only one school, one playing field, and the playing field seems to be the central meeting point where we all can be kids, be adult, and intermingle with each other.
So if there was any sort of game, it would take place on that central playing field.
That's correct.
It'd be like cricket
Maybe
or soccer.
cricket, soccer, football, volleyball. And if we were in cross country, it starts there and finish there.
Amazing. And that was
And
right.
also during carnival time, that is where if you have different bands, different groups, they would meet there and per se where everybody intermingle and create some kind of fashion, what we call in the United States a battle of the bands.
Yes, yes.
So you have different groups playing different songs and people trying to outdo each other and with the different songs, and everyone intermingle, jump in and enjoy the festivities.
Indeed, indeed. And just so you note, St. Joseph was a major village. I think as far as settlements, it may have been maybe the fourth largest settlement after Roseau, Portsmouth, and Marion.
Yes, it is.
Very dense because it really supported the labor force of the Layou Valley. So your parent, your mom and my mom, they actually may have been born. I met a lady who was almost 90 years old in Nottingham when we went for the funeral of our uncle, John Baptist. And she was so precise in her memory. She says, your mom, she came to St. Joseph, but I don't think they were from St. Joseph. I think they were from Layou Valley. And she was right because mom was, Papi Aaron was a foreman on the Layou Valley estate. And
yes,
they were born there, but then later on they had a home in St. Joseph. So that's where this woman as a child, knew them, And
yes.
so the people from St. Joseph worked on the Hillsborough estate. They worked at Cocoa Center in the Layou Valley, and then they went back home. Some of them stayed on the estate, others went back home. So it was a very dynamic village. And I remember when I would come.
And a lot of people reside on both estates as well as their permanent home. And they move to the village to attend to school, for grocery shopping, and other things like that.
Yes, indeed. Tell me about the grocery shopping and the shops you remember in St. Joseph of your youth.
Well, as a kid, one of the main shops in St. Joseph was, which they had a shop under Alvin and Montready building, which is, they call her Teacher Ini. She was one of the bigger shops. My uncle Lombard had a shop in Back Street. He was also a pretty decent sized shop.
Stick a pin in this. This was not Chinese or foreigners. This was Black Dominicans.
Those were all local owned St. Josephians, if you want to call them that.
Yes.
Locally, Mahue had a shop. My auntie Masden had a small, like a restaurant where she sells pastries, fried bakes and stuff like that, small dishes. And then we had Mr. Osman, Nono. Those are some of the major shops in St. Joseph. Crisport, and also one of my auntie Tata had a shop up the mon. My grand auntie, which is the lady who raised my dad, because my grandma died when my dad was young. So her sister, her auntie, which is Tanta, is my dad auntie, and she's my grand auntie, raised my father up the mon. So we had a couple shops up the mon as well. We had the Pierre had a shop up the mon, and there were 2 or 3 other shops. I cannot recall the names right now. So that's kind of the shopping area in St. Joseph.
And we also had, we also had other relatives, coming back to relatives. I remember relatives, like when you're coming into St. Joseph, the biggest house on the left was owned by our Uncle Simon, John Baptist. who had
Yeah,
children, Alexon and Addison and Sandra
yeah.
and Seppi Wellington.
Well, Uncle Si is kind of, that family is unique to me because my Uncle Simon is my mother's and our mother oldest brother.
Yes.
And he was born from my father's first wife, which she passed early as well. And then Papi remarried again and end up having all of the kids grow up together.
Yes.
His wife, who they call Dapo, is also my auntie.
Amazing.
which is my father's oldest sister.
Oh,
So here we are.
You related on both sides.
I related on both sides to that family because my mother's oldest brother is my uncle, and my father's oldest sister is my auntie, and they both married.
Amazing.
Now, Auntie Dapo, my mom was a mentor to my mom. She taught my mom how to sew, to be a seamstress, because she mentored my mom as a young kid coming up. And my mom and Uncle Si was very, very close. And that's why his wife took my mom up under her wing for tutelage and mentorship. And my dad and his sister was also close. So by coincidence, my mom and my dad formed a relationship at that household where he was visiting his oldest sister and my mom was visiting her oldest brother.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I know Alexson was one of the founders of the Gramax Orchestra with Jeff Joseph and so on. St. Joseph.
Yes, Alexson was one of the original founders, and about halfway through the process, he moved on during the same time Cato moved on. So the band kind of, there is a dynamic there, so I do not know all the details, so I do not want to speak on that, but I know he moved on.
Yes, indeed. And we also have other uncles like Uncle David and Uncle Gannick. And
Uncle David and Uncle Gannick was my mother's uncle, because Uncle Gannick and Uncle David was my grandmother's brother.
Okay.
So and they all came from up Daly's Castlebrooks area.
Okay.
Then we had Uncle Dentley, which was one of my father's son from Kubawi. Okay. He was the only son that was out of the wedlock from a grandfather. And he was born in between the passing of my grandfather. I wouldn't say wed, because at the time my grandfather was not married, because he was a widower, a widower, and he was in the process of, forming a relationship with his new wife. So Uncle Dentley, and then we had a couple other uncles, Uncle JB, which also is one of my mother's brother. He died early through drowning in Glasgow.
Yes.
I didn't know, because remember Uncle JB also had Vito and Lizzie. So those are our cousins as well from Backstreet.
Yes.
And then we had Uncle, I can't remember the uncle that went to Guadeloupe. He went there, never returned. And then we had our three uncles in England, which is Uncle Ambrose, Uncle Johnson, and Uncle Washington.
That's right.
So
Uncle Johnson. Yeah. So Uncle Ambrose's dad, maybe about a decade ago, he was a miner in Nottingham. Uncle Washington died in January of this year. He was a construction engineer in Nottingham. He built, in fact, they showed me a bridge that he helped to build in Nottingham. Mm-hmm. And then Uncle Johnson just died in February of this year. Yes. So he's the last of the brothers who passed away. So that and how do you remember them? Because I know they would sometimes send things and so on.
Well, Uncle Washington, Uncle Johnson, Uncle Ambrose they went to England. I cannot recall when they departed for England because I was a kid.
They left in the 50s. They left in the 50s before you were born.
Yeah. So how I remember them is when they came home to visit, I remember specifically more Uncle Washington and Uncle Johnson, not much of Uncle Ambrose, because those two really left an impression with me. Uncle Johnson was like a big kid. When he come home, you know you're gonna have fun with him. You know you're gonna jump all over him. You know he's gonna act the fool.
Yeah.
Kind of like your brother Sammy.
Yeah.
Because Sammy and Uncle Johnson have the same characteristics and personality.
Yes.
Uncle Washington is kind of like a mini version of Pappy.
Yes.
When he interact with you, is more trying to instill information, more getting you wiser, sharing more, trying to educate you and teach you history. That was Uncle Washington. So, so you have two different uncles, and they both left an impression in two different forms.
Indeed. And in those days, for those who are listening, many Dominicans had gone overseas to England. I discovered that both Uncle Johnson, Washington, and Ambrose had actually come to the United States. They'd gone as far as Washington State. You know what they were doing? They had gone to Washington State to pick apples, and they had gone to Florida to pick oranges before they went to England. And Uncle JB, who you mentioned, had died at Gloucester. He was in the British Army with my dad.
That's correct.
Nestor John Baptist. I remember as a child, there was a canteen, a U.S. Army canteen, you know, with the canvas case that he maybe have left behind from his war years. I remember that there. And also, Pappy had a pellet. I don't know whether it was sent down from England. It was like a pistol, but it was an air pistol. Yes.
Pappy also had a 12-gauge shotgun.
I never saw that one.
I remember I was a kid up in car home, and we were spending the summer. Every summer we go up to car home and spend the summer in the garden. And
for those who will listen to this, kind of tell them where car home was, because I understand it was in the mountains.
Yeah, car home is kind of like it's in the, what I want to call in the mountains is part of the parish of St. Joseph, up in the hills, straight up, I would say north, straight up east of St. Joseph, up in the mountain. And we had the Live Villa Estate area where people from St. Joseph had the garden. They call it, man, I can't remember the name now, but anyway, and then you had the Cowham area. So, and in the Cowham area, you have several different sections. When you get up in the mountains there, like we had like Bramhall, McFarlane, some people refer up in the Clem Far area, in the Clem area. And then you had what they call the Platte Cahome, where you have my uncle, Uncle Lombard, Mr. Braid, Papa Shaw, they all had the garden, and then the Brunies, the two Brunies, all of that is considered Platte Cahome.
And when you say flat, it means a flat area.
Yes, the flat, more like the plain, the plain of the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, there's a huge plain, and that's considered they call it the flat, which is flat in Creole.
So Pappy had a estate up there, some acres. How many acres, do you know?
Pappy had, I want to say it's about maybe 10 acres.
Okay.
Out in the Good Valley area of Cahome, which is right below Bramhall, which is the part of the Whalen Estate. Bramhall is part of the Whalen Estate. And Whalen is well known for being one of the oldest general manager of the
Hillsborough,
the Pot Roll Estate.
I remember Whelan. As a child, we'd go with our car to get some grapefruits and oranges from the estate. In those days, there's still tobacco being grown at Layou.
Yes.
Do you remember when tobacco was still being grown at Layou?
Yes, tobacco was still being grown, and also they did a lot of, I don't know if you remember, they did a lot of sunflowers too.
I didn't know about the sunflowers.
Yeah, they do some sunflowers, and they also a lot of cocoa and a lot of coconut.
I know about the cocoa and coconut because
Yeah.
I mean when you come through from Roseau and you take that to my Taru and you go
Yes.
into the area of the Lai River Valley, I mean both sides. Early on as a child, I'd see lots of rows of tobacco, but later
Yes.
on at the back you see all the coconut trees, coconut trees,
Yes.
coconut trees, you know,
Yeah.
and so on. So let me ask you, what would be grown on Pappy's estate? What were the kind of crops that Pappy grew?
Pappy grew really a variety of products. One, Pappy have always involved in livestock, so we have always had cows and also pigs and chicken in the country. Pappy grew cocoa, coconut, lots of bananas, veggies, and also some of your root food like dashin, yam. We produced a lot of dashin because the area was very, very rich and very diverse. So we had the dry land and the wetland to produce a lot of dashin and yams.
Stick
We
a pin
also
in that, cousin Corbin, just so those who are listening to this will understand. Dashin is like a root crop, like yam, but it's kind of purple. When you boil it, it's kind of purple blue. Whereas the yam, you can have the yellow yam, you can have the white yam. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, dashin. Some dashin is purple, but most of them is when you first peel it, they have an off color, creamy off color, and then when you cook, it turns grayish.
Yes.
With the for most American who listen to that thing, the dashin and malanga are in the same family.
Yes.
So there's Hispanic refer to malanga.
Okay.
But at home we refer to dashin.
Dashin, yes.
Yeah. So
and Corbin, when you go up there, and I went up to Kahum only once. Was it Kahum? Or I think Pappy may have had two estates here. I think he had one at Kahum, but I think he had one up the river. Am I right?
No, well, Pappy established that estates in two locations. It was up in Good Valley area, was the prime area, and then later in his later age, Uncle Washington had bought a piece of land out by Mr. Pierre, which is Lawrence Pierre, and from Mr. Clarence Carr. And we established a garden there. I remember that was Emmanuel and I last project with Pappy was to open up that piece of land into a new garden area. And the last thing we did is build a farmhouse on that place. And when we were about 3/4 completion of that farmhouse is when Emmanuel McCroy and I migrated to St. Croix.
Indeed. So your father was in St. Croix and he sent for you.
Yeah, my father moved to St. Croix back in the late 50s. He spent significant amount of time in St. Croix, and then he filed for Emmanuel McCroy and I because us three are the sons of my father with my mother.
Yes, indeed. And let me just clarify this. For those who are listening, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are U.S. territories to the northwest of Dominica, right below Puerto Rico. Am I correct?
That's correct. You have St. Croix below Puerto Rico, and you have St. Thomas and St. John's almost lined up with Puerto Rico.
Indeed. And so many Dominicans went to work in the oil industry at Hess. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Including famous St. Joseph scholars like our good brother and friend there, Lyndon Scotland, the chemical engineer. Is that right?
Oh yeah, Lyndon Scotland father always also we have family too, believe it or not. He was because the Scotland, the Nicholas, my father, it's a group of guys from St. Joseph all moved to St. Croix at the same time. They remained friends because they were friends in the village and they remained friends in St. Croix, established roots in St. Croix. So Linton, Ashby, and his couple of his sisters were all born and raised in St. Joseph. And they all migrated to St. Croix about a year or 2 years before we migrated to St. Croix.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And we continue. We grew up together, and even in St. Croix, we continue to maintain that friendship. And today, we still have that friendship.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Lyndon and I studied at the grammar school in '72, but my mother, your aunt, taught his mother during World War II.
Yeah.
You know, at the school because she was an assistant teacher. So when you went up to Cajon, for instance, in the summer, or if you went up on weekends, where would you sleep?
Well, sometimes we come back to the village. Most of the time we sleep in the farm. As I said, in the new area we established, we built a house there. And in Good Valley, part of Cajon, we also had a house in there as well. So we would sleep there. And we had one of our Auntie Maria, which is another sister of our mother. Yeah. She lived in town. She would come up to Cajon, and her husband, Zon, used to work for Mr. Whelan. So occasionally we would stay on the Whelan estate. One thing about that entire family is a strong, strong family bond. So we'd rather be together, separate, because we're in the same geographic area, and we would leave our house at night and move to the Bromwell estate occasionally and stay with Auntie Mary and Mr. Zon, just so we can be together, bond, real communication, just enjoying the moment. And then next morning we'd get up and go back to our village. But most of the time we would stay on in our own garden area, because Papa had a house in it.
And there was a river there that you could bathe in. What river was that?
There is the Bromwell River separated Bromwell from the Good Valley side. The Good Valley is where Pappy and Mr. I can't remember his name now, but from up the mountain, we're on the other side of the river. So that river separated those two estates, and that we would bathe there, fish there, collect water in the summertime when our spring water dry, because we had a spring area where we collected water in Pappy's garden. When we have a really dry summer, that spring would dry out. It would no longer produce any water. So we would have to walk down to the bottom of the hill to collect water from the river. And of course, that river never is dry because it's a major river. It's one of the major tributaries river that contributed to the Lai River itself.
I see. So that was a river with it had basins and it was deep enough to go in and swim and so on.
Yeah, and connected to Lai River.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. And let me ask you, what kind of food did you be eating out there in the forest?
In the forest, in the country, we eat everything that grows in the garden. Only thing we buy from the store when we're going up is like, your basic butter, salt. We had some flour, but when it comes to rice, potatoes, and stuff like that, macaroni, we did not buy those kind of things. So we ate everything that grew on the land itself.
Amazing.
So our upbringing was really organic, healthy. So obviously, that type of diet give us a strong foundation.
Yes, indeed. So would you also catch fish there in the river?
We caught crayfish. We do snails. We do crabs and all this stuff like that in the river. There was not much fish per se, because that part of the river was very shallow but very, very rocky. And so there was not much big dam area where the fish could establish some type of habitat. But the most, what we call crawfish or quibish, and the water crabs, those type of things we caught over there.
And you didn't have television, you didn't have electricity, correct?
No television, no electricity. We use what we call either flashlight or bullseye.
A bullseye is like a
A
bottle with.
bullseye is a bottle with a crocus bag wick, and we use the oil they use to mix and spray the bananas for the disease they call leaf spot. So we use that oil with the crocus wick to for our light,
to make a lamp.
to make a lamp, and all our food we prepare on stone and wood. So we had
no electric range.
no electricity, no refrigerator. Everything all the meat and other produce we have, we dried it and smoked it, so
Yes,
we can
indeed.
preserve it for a long life.
Yes, indeed.
Even some of the wildlife we hunted, like we hunted agouti, wild hogs, believe it or not, manikou.
Yes.
So
and those like the agouti and manikou, they're like big rats, aren't they?
Yeah. So
like rabbits.
Yeah, we clean those and smoke them and dry them, salt them and dry them. And
Yes.
if they dry properly, they would last for months.
Yes, indeed.
If they dry properly and handled properly, they would last, because we had a wooden barrel. We put the dry meat in there, and we would lay crocus bag over them for separation.
I see.
So they would not intermingle with each other for separation and not keep them dry.
Indeed. I just want to talk about cattle for a moment. In 1969, I'm at infant school in Roseau, the Roseau Mixed Infant School, and I remember Pappy in the back of a truck with a very nice fat heifer, and that was Old Bess. And that heifer, Corbin, from 1969 till my departure from Dominica in 1982, every year made a cow for us.
Well, Pappy had a unique breed of cow. I have no idea where it came from. We also, when my mom left, when Chris and I filed for my mom left Dominica, I remember I can't remember who she gave a free calf of that same breed, and she gave it to them for free with the agreement if and when we return, we would able to obtain a calf from that breed. Yes. So our breed of cow was really a beef producing breed.
Yeah, they also produce milk as well, to Corbin, because we
milk, but
we'd sell milk. We had about, when I left Dominica in 82, we had about 4 or 5 customers in Roseau every morning.
Yeah, we sell milk.
7 days a week, I would go into town with these bottles of milk.
Yeah.
The McIntyres were one of them. Colin McIntyre's family was a family we'd sell milk to, and we'd buy eggs from them. So it was a mixed Holstein Creole mix. It was a mixed Holstein Creole. It was good for beef, but it was also good for milk.
Yes, we also sold milk to several customers in the village. We had our routine customers in the village, so we'd bring the milk down from Cajon and sell it to our customers. During the Christmas holiday and the hurricane season time, Pappy leased Alvin Montreal and his family estate up the river. I think that was about maybe 100, 200 acres, whatever it is up there. We leased that land so we can graze and tie our cow. So we had all of that. We had that area. So during the hurricane season and the Christmas season, we'll bring the cow down to the village, but we'll keep them up in up the river area at the what they call Patron area, the estate up in there.
Corbin, as I listen to you, I now realize how much our family was engaged in animal husbandry. Because the morning I left for the United States, Corbin, at 5:30, I ran up to Stock Farm. We had about 6 heads of cattle at that time to see the cattle for the last time. And I'm asking you this. I'm going to mention a name to you, and you will tell me what he did as an occupation that made history in Dominica. Wellsworth Morrison Christian. What did he become?
Wellsworth was your oldest brother, and I remember he went to India to study veterinarian, and he returned to Dominica as the first ever veterinarian in Dominica. And that's how we are first cousins. Of course, Wellsworth is Auntie Alberta, your mom's first son. And believe it or not, I think my mom is Wellsworth's godmother, is it not?
Yes. Your mother was his godmother.
And then my mom also served as godmother for Uncle Si and Auntie Dapo first three kids, which is Rosette, Sarah, and Addison.
Yes, indeed.
So
and
she's
so,
as well, because Sarah recognized my mom and Addison as they call her auntie, but they see her as a mom as well. Because when they were growing up as a kid, my mom really took care of them because Auntie Dapo was really busy with her seamstress business.
Yes, indeed. And Uncle Si, Uncle Si was a major figure in the village because he was one of the few with a Land Rover Jeep.
Yes.
And he used to run some big estates. He ran, I remember going to see him at the estate, at Castle Bruce Estate. We traveled to see him. And he also ran the Poncasse estate for geese.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I was a cadet, I went to see my geese with my mom, we had bought a car and he had a rifle. So he threw the rifle at me and he said, I hear you're a cadet at the grammar school. Why don't you shoot this bottle? He had a bottle on the wall. So I took the rifle. I fired 3 shots. I missed. He said, come on, give me that rifle. You're hopeless. 1 shot. Bam.
Well, a little history while you're talking about Uncle Si. Uncle Si taught me how to drive because I learned to drive on that same Jeep you're talking about with Sheppy. Because he's another one of my uncle that try to instill different skill sets into you and educate you. He also taught me how to shoot.
Yes.
So I remember on Sunday mornings,
Uncle Si, I'm not sure whether it's because he was an estate manager. He always had a silver automatic pistol on him.
Yes. And he was known in the village for carrying his weapon. And he was also known in the village when the butchers killing the cow, he was one of the guys that would go and shoot the cow for them so they can butcher that cow safely. He was one of the guys that known for doing that. So everyone knew whether Uncle Si was sober or whether he's drunk, he have his pistol with him.
Actually, when he was going, I had an arrangement that he would sell it to me, but I think Seppi or somebody else got that pistol. But no, he was a very, boisterous and tall and good looking and very. He was a loving guy, When he would come in, he'd come in with a glam. He was a guy of personality. He was a big personality.
Yes. He had a lot of flair, if that's the word you're looking for, a lot of flair.
But coming back to animal husbandry, it talks about how your early days can shape your future. Coming back to the village, before we go to St. Croix and your army service, tell us about the sea and what kind of what kind of games you would play, and tell us about the sea because I know right behind Papi's house in the yard. So we had the kitchen outside the house, and then you had the sea. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and don't forget we had one of the biggest seaside grape in the back of the kitchen.
That's correct. For those who will remember, I'm not sure how popular it is, but there was a huge seaside grape, which is like a very nice grape. It turned kind of purple. And
that's correct. Yes. And that was the meeting point for almost half of the village during the grape season, because everyone used to come there, and that tree was known for bearing a lot of grapes.
Is it still there or did it fall?
No, Hurricane David break it down.
I see.
And then when it got broke down during Hurricane David, remember it's after that, after Papi died, I think Papi died in what, 79?
81. Yeah.
That's when my mom afterwards in 85, 86, that's when my mom extended the house and break the kitchen down.
Yes.
So the seaside grip was coming back after it was broken down, but my mom cut it down so she can expand the Papi house, and that's when she added that piece on there, that brick piece.
Yes.
So then we get rid of the kitchen. But yeah, the Papi, the sea, the back there in the sea, under the seaside grip was a huge meeting point for a lot of the kids in the village. We had 2 assembly areas. We had our seaside grip area, and also we had further down by Maydew, by Willie and them under the tambourine tree. We would meet up in there and we would all go into the ocean, into the sea, and we would just swim. We would do that before school, sometimes after school on the weekends. It's an all-day affair. And then in the water, we would play tip a hole, try to catch me if you can, to see who can swim the fastest, who can escape each other and play. And also we would do teams. And tip a hole is where you go out in the open water and you would kind of like twist your body in such a way where you can use your feet as a weapon to slap the other person. So we would do that continuously. And in the meantime, the current would push you out so far while we're playing the games and we're not paying attention to where we at. When finally the game is over, we're way out in the ocean. We had to, when we swim back to land, we'll have to ground ourselves further down, either closer to Layu if the ocean were pushing that direction, or closer to Mero if the ocean were pushing the opposite, and walk back to our rallying point. So that's kind of some of the fun we had in the ocean. Incredibly, none of us have ever bitten by sharks. Incredibly, we have been out there so far where we have whales pass by us. They never bother us. We had orcas pass by us. They never bother us. They do their thing, we do our thing. And we have had sharks circle us, just more for curiosity, but not so for feeding. Then eventually they would leave, and we would, when the shark come around and circle us, we would get into a big group and stay there and start beating the water, which is the wrong thing to do. But during the days, we thought that was the best thing to do. And the shark would leave, and then we would continue our fun and game.
It's amazing because I remember eating as a child. I ate whale, and the whale, when they caught the whale in Portersville, the skin was very thick, so you had to boil the whale, a lot of fat, because the whale is a mammal.
A lot of blubber in the whale.
Yeah, but the whale is nice because the whale meat is like beef, It's like beef. It's not like fish. Yeah. Did you ever eat whale?
I've never eaten whale, but I've eaten shark, but I've never eaten whale.
Oh, I've had more shark than whale. I've had a lot of shark. And of course, I've had some turtle as well. Turtle is also like beef when you eat it.
Yeah, turtle has 2 parts of meat to it. Some parts of the turtle taste like beef, and the other parts of the turtle taste like chicken.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so turtle is a unique animal. It has that 2 parts of the white meat and the red meat portion to it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we're coming up now. Tell us about the yard and the bakeries in St. Joseph before we go to Roseau.
So repeat that question
Tell us
again.
about the yard, because there's a certain culture in the yard of people. My mother said in the 1930s they would share fire. Whoever woke up early in the morning, they would share fire, and they would have a more communal spirit in the yard. Tell us about village life and village unity and the peacefulness of the village.
In the village, we had actually, at one point there was only 2 bakeries, and then the Pear family built us a bakery that made it 3 bakeries, and at the then my Uncle Lombard built a 4th bakery. So there were 1 bakery in Backstreet, and there were 1 bakery 2 doors down for us between the only, which is my auntie Mas then had a bakery there. Between Mount Princess and us, the bakery was on the other side of Mount Princess. Up the Mon, they had a bakery up there, which is from the Pear family. And then in up the river, that's where my uncle baked his bakery. So most of the people would get up early in the morning, and bake their bread into the stone bakery. And by 5:30, bread's ready for sale.
Yes,
so people would purchase the bread before they go out to the farm, before they go out to work, before they go out in the country, and then we'd go get bread in preparation for school or whatever the case may be. Also, go ahead.
Can you tell us the 2 kinds of bread that they would make?
They had the mastiff bread, the big ones where you can cut into slices, and they also had the small single serving bread.
They call it the penny bread.
Yeah, the penny bread.
And they used to put a little strip. They used to put a little strip of banana leaf on it.
It looked like 2 fingers stick
together.
Yep.
And you could break it. You could break it in half.
Yes. Now, also for you in Roseau your bread was a little bit different, because one of the most famous bakery in Roseau was what they call it, where they bake the jacquerie.
Eric's bakery. Eric's bakery. They made the pan bread, which was kind of electrically sliced. They would sell, and then there's jacquerie, which is like a square.
Square, exactly. So that's in the village. And one of the things about the village was very tight, as you said, tight-knit family. We shared a lot. I remember coming up from the country when we harvest, my mom would get bags of food, and she would say she have to give to this lady, this lady, this lady. So when we get home, she would separate the food and have us drop it off. We would drop food to Lizzie, our cousin. We would drop food to Vito. We would also, my mom and Chicha Enid was very close friends. Not only Chicha Enid was one of my mom's main creditor for groceries, they were also very good friends. So we would drop food for her as well. We would drop food to Uncle Sai, and then we would ship food to your mom in Roseau through Gabi most of the time, and Gabi would drop it off to your mom at the infirmary where they had the school for the blind. And the entire village, whomever my mom, one of the truck drivers my mom would catch, they all knew Auntie Alberta. So they would stop right there, honk their horn, pull up to this outside the infirmary, honk their horn, and she would come running, grab the bags, and then go back in and tend to the blind folks. Or if one of you guys or the others will send you all to intercept the truck, and the driver or the conductor of that truck would hand you the bag saying, "Hey, here go your bag, my 2 cents for you."
Indeed. And in those days, the trucks had conductors. That's someone on the back was riding.
Riding the back of the truck. So
all of that culture of trucks and conductors, that's gone now.
It's gone.
Because those are British trucks. Those are British trucks like Bedford and Humber. Yeah. Now you have the Japanese buses, the minibuses by Nissan, Toyota.
And the conductor play a vital part in the operation of that vehicle, because that's the individual that assists you with your groceries, with whatever load you have to load in the truck. He managed the passengers in the truck to make space, to make sure there were people sitting comfortable. And he also knew each route and the stopping location for each passenger. So he would have a little bell in the back of the truck when he get to, because the driver would concentrate on driving, and the conductor would concentrate on passenger management of the passengers. So he would ring the bell to indicate to the driver, hey, we have a passenger going to stop here, or whatever the case may be. So he managed all of that.
Amazing, amazing.
So
I travel on the truck.
It's like an intricate team where you have the driver concentrate on driving and safety, and the conductor concentrate on load management and passenger management.
Amazing. I think what you've just done, Cousin Corbin, is one of the best descriptions of the passenger truck culture, because a lot of people have no knowledge, the young generation have no knowledge of that. So what you're doing would be very good source material for a historian, or what I call a anthropologist, people who study society and human communities. Tell me about crime in the village. There's no crime to speak of, was there?
There was we had little scrimmages. Typical kids would fight. Of course, you put humans together, there's going to be some disagreement. People would fight, fist fight and stuff like that. But once that fist fight or that whatever, no one would fight with a weapon, with a gun, with a knife, with a machete.
Did you know of one, during the time we grew up in St. Joseph, do you know of one murder?
I cannot recall a murder in St. Joseph. I cannot recall.
Neither can I. During the time I grew up.
I cannot recall while I was growing up.
Do you recall one shooting in St. Joseph?
I cannot recall of a single shooting in St. Joseph.
Indeed. Same here. So I say this because it's important for young people who will listen to this to understand that we have the ability to make civilization work or break it down by our conduct and by our discipline and our behavior. Speak to that.
And you know something, our scrimmages were small rivalries. We would fight with each other, but at the end of the day, when we finished fighting, we all went to the same school. We all played on the same playing ground. As an adult, if you were a young adult and you were into sports, you had a fight. Then you get to the field by the school, and if you're playing cricket, we all played together. If you're playing football, we all played together. And there was a small basketball court, if you recall, by the school, by the gas station there. Mm-hmm. So when we were coming up, there was a basketball court. We all would play on that together as well. And the basketball court was really strict game, no organized game. Whereas our football and cricket were more organized.
Yeah.
And volleyball. So, indeed. But I cannot recall of a single murder, nor of a single gunshot, or where I cannot recall of anyone using a machete and what we call chopping anyone with a machete. I cannot recall that.
Let me speak to the, thank you so much. Let me speak to the issue of burglaries. Do you remember at any time anyone burglarized in your home?
No, we had some burglary in the village. There were some stores. I remember my youth store got burglarized. And then we had Nono store got burglarized. And then we had some burglary to individual homes. But it was a small group of people, and they were known for that. And that did not last very long, because the village folks who found out who the burglar was, they were turned into the police force, and they were arrested and also taken to the justice and the process system. Some of them ended up going to jail.
Yes. So in St. Joseph, there was a police station and there was regular court.
Yes. In the village, we had the police station. And then in the same building of the police station, there was a courtroom where the judge would come from town so many days a week to hold court. And there was a smaller building next to the police station in that overlooking the cricket and the soccer field. They call it the Exchange, if you recall. That room, that little building controlled all of the communication, electronic communication device that transmit all of the communication from Roseau as a transmitter to push further into Calabishi, Coleho.
So it was like a phone. It was like a phone operator.
It's a phone operator and a transmitter.
Yes,
Yeah,
and of course, when you say Roseau, you mean the capital of Dominica.
the capital of Dominica, yes.
Yeah, when you would go to Roseau, you take a truck, or did you ever take a boat or a walk?
When we go to Roseau, we took a truck because there were several individuals who ran vehicles, truck, the same type of truck with the wooden box where you can seat 10, 15 passengers in that truck. We had the Lable, we had few, we had several trucks that run back and forth between St. Joseph through Roseau. They would cover Layu,
Maho.
Massac, and them other places. Even
Yes.
in Jimmy area, they would pick up passengers and take them into town as well.
Yes.
So
Let me
yeah, we
ask,
take a truck.
yeah. Do you remember any of the famous drivers?
Well, some of the famous drivers we had was, I remember Lable. I remember Few, which is one of the Pierre older son. I remember, man, I can't remember the names now, but I can see their faces.
I understand. Let's get to the Virgin Islands. How old were you when you migrated?
When I migrated to the Virgin Islands, I was 15, going to 16.
Okay. And
Yeah.
where did you go to? Charlotte Amalie?
No, I migrated into St. Croix, Charlotte Amalie, St. Thomas. I
Okay.
flew into
Christenstead.
Christenstead. We were in St. Croix. Stayed there for about a year, and then I went to the States to what we call Jobco to learn a trade. So that's where I worked mechanic, and I also learned some welding in there as well.
What state was that?
That was New Jersey.
Okay. So were you in the forest?
Say again?
The job corps was in the forest, or?
No. Jobco wasn't actually the Jobco I attended in New Jersey was in Edison, New Jersey. Edison is right outside of Brunswick, New Jersey. It's the suburbs of Brunswick across the river. Brunswick is a major city, and Brunswick, that's the location of Rutgers University, because Rutgers University were right next door. We had Livingston College right next door, and maybe less than 5 miles down Route 27, we had Princeton. So as a young man in Jobco, those are the places I hanged out. I hanged out at Rutgers, I hanged out at Livingston, I hanged out at Princeton. Because...
And that's Princeton University?
Princeton University, yes.
Yes.
But
did McCrory also go to Job Corps there as well?
No, it's only Emmanuel and I.
I see.
Yeah.
So he did also mechanical engineering?
No, Emmanuel did body work. That's where he learned body work from. That's what he's still doing today. Yes. He owned 2 shops in New York at one point, and he sold those and then moved to he's currently moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and he currently works for a major body shop in Atlanta. He works for dealers in Atlanta.
And what about McCrory?
McCroy was in St. Croix with us, and at one point my dad sent him back to Dominica because of disputes, disagreement, and the waywardness of his behaviors. He stayed in Dominica for a while, and then when Emmanuel and I left Jobco and I joined the military, I went back to St. Croix after Jobco, and I joined the military in St. Croix. Chris left Jobco and went to New York. Started working as a bodyman. That's when McCroy moved to New York with Chris.
Okay.
From Dominica.
I know McCroy now is building his home in St. Joseph, and he's a businessman.
McCroy is currently located in Florida right now, Fort Lauderdale, and is also more than 3/4 way of completion of building his home up in the Miro area of St. Joseph.
Just like Runa. Runa is also building a home up there as well.
Yes, Runa and Clarin. they're building a home together.
Yes,
Of course, Clarin is one of my sister.
yes,
Neither
yes.
Clarin nor Runa ever married, and they have no kids. So they decided their retirement home, they're going to build it together. Clarin also owned some property in that same area, like in Mero area. But however, she decided what's best for her and Runa is for them to, age together per se, because they need to rely on each other for support because they have no kids. They have a ton of nieces and nephews, though.
Yes, yes, yes. And of course, Clarence stayed with us all through high school.
Yes.
He also did a PhD in sociology, I believe.
In special education.
So
yes.
She's Dr. Clarence Pierre.
She's Dr. Clarence Pierre, yes.
And Runa also went to college and studied, I believe.
Yeah, Runa attended college in Georgia Southern. She did an undergrad there and then transferred to Norfolk State for her master's in social work.
Indeed, indeed. And after Job Corps, you also went to college during the military. What did you study undergrad?
Yeah, my first degree and first undergrad project, I earned an associate degree in automotive technology from Central Texas in Central Texas College in Texas, Killeen, Texas. And then I pursue a bachelor's degree in business management from University of Maryland. And I also pursue a master's degree from University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. I earned a master's degree in human relations.
Amazing.
So and all of that while serving as a soldier, while raising kids and having a family.
Tell us the name of your wife and your kids.
My wife, we have, I was married twice. I'm married to this lady named Alberta. We had 2 kids and stayed together. We were only like 3 years and then we divorced. And then,
what was the name? Was it Alberta?
Alberta, yes. She was
from, just like your auntie then.
They're like my auntie. And she was from Washington, Georgia. We met at Fort Polk. She was also in the service. Fort Polk, Louisiana was my first duty station. Okay. After I finished my basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and then my individual training, what we call AIT, Advanced Individual Training, in Aberdeen Proving Ground.
Amazing. That's where we'd meet. Well, you come down to DC.
Yes, because Aberdeen Proving Ground was the central training area for all of the automotive and ordnance training. That's where you went. So if you were an ordnance guy, an automotive guy, or soldier, service member, that's where you obtained most of your training. We had a few ordnance battalion. We had one in Fort Knox, Kentucky. So some soldiers may have received training there that were automotive and ordnance. We had one in Missouri, and we also had one at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Now, all of those are closed. They closed down. And at one point, Aberdeen was the only location. Now they moved all of that to Fort Lee, Virginia.
So, but Aberdeen, Aberdeen still operates, does it?
Aberdeen still operates as a testing ground, as a they have a what they call a expeditionary brigade there, and they have some reserve units there.
Yeah. I've been to court several times for servicemen or civilians who got stopped on the base for some crime or whatever, and there's a federal court. So most of the bases, like Andrews Air Force Base, U.S. Naval Academy, Annapolis, Aberdeen, they all have courthouses on base for crimes committed on base. So I'd go on there to federal court as part of my practice. But let's get back to the Army. So you sat in 1980 or 81?
I actually joined the military in 79.
Okay.
And then I went in July of '79. I went to basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Then I went to Aberdeen Proving Ground for my advanced individual training. And I graduated from that in late October. And then I moved to Fort Polk, Louisiana. That's where I met my first wife, and we have 2 kids, Dominica.
What are your names? What was her name? Was
My
Alberta.
first son named Dominic. Of course, I named him after after my native island, Dominica.
Yes.
And not
Same here. Our daughter is Dominique.
Yes, Dominic. And then we have April. And then when I gotten divorced and I moved, I PCS to Germany, again, Galstedt, Germany. That's where I met Julie, and I met.
What was Julie's maiden name?
Julie's maiden name was Riddick.
Rigg, R-I-G-G.
Yeah, is Reddrck.
Oh, Riddick.
Riddick, yeah. Yeah, so and then we met. We dated for a while. I PCS to Fort Stewart.
And what does PCS mean?
Which is the permanent change of duty station.
I see.
So I moved from Germany to Fort Stewart, Georgia. And then Julie moved from Germany to Fort Devens, Massachusetts. And in '86, I hit a crossroad. That's when I decided, okay, if I'm gonna get out of the military and go back to St. Croix and work. So that was a dilemma. But at the same time, Julie and I had really started falling in love with each other. So that was my crossroad in life.
Yeah.
So I had to make a decision: stay in the military and get married, or go back home and never have a chance to see my
Julie
love.
again.
So
and I think the pull of your love was stronger.
Well, two things. Not only my love, I also considered my 2 kids early, they were very young.
Yes.
And if I stay in the military, that give me an opportunity to be close to them.
Yes.
Also continue the relationship with Julie, and being and playing a vital part in my kids' upbringing, because that was important to me. Because one thing people fail to realize, when you have, as an adult, when there is a relationship and there are kids involved, the victim are always the kids, because adults tend to forget about the kids and focus on themselves. Well, the kids are the innocent victim. They did not ask for that. They did not brought themselves in here. And too often we think of ourselves selfishly and not considering them. So for me, as you were aware, and as we spoke about earlier, family is part of my foundation. It's a very tight-knit. It's part of my culture. It's part of my upbringing. And that had a vital part to play with me deciding I'm going to stay in the military. And that gave me an opportunity to engage and have a vital part with my kids' upbringing, in spite of the broke-up relationship between myself and them.
Indeed.
So
you and Julie got married in what year?
So Julie and I got married in 87.
That's right, because when you said 2000, I got afraid, because I know when we bought this house that I'm in, you and Julie were the first guests at our house. But what's interesting, and the record should reflect, that the day that Julie and I went looking for this house, Carlton was visiting with his girlfriend. Yeah. And we took him with us. And when he came here, he said, you know what, Gabriel, that's a good house. Buy this house. And we did. Yeah. And then a month or 2 later, you came. It was a winter time, because I remember you clearing the snow. Tell us about that.
Yes.
That was 1995, I believe.
It was 1995. That's correct. And the reason why Julie and I moved to your house, that's when Julie came up with the cancer, and they moved her to Walter Reed.
Yeah.
Walter Reed
And
Medical.
Walter Reed was the leading U.S. Army Medical Center.
Yes, in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Yeah.
So Julie was transferred there.
You know, interestingly, Walter Reed is close to Silver Spring, Maryland, but it's actually it was at that time on Georgia Avenue in D.C.
Yeah, it is. It is on Georgia Avenue.
But it's right below Silver Spring. But they've now moved everything to Bethesda Naval.
Yeah, everything is moved to Bethesda. Everything is moved to Bethesda. Well, and we were stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia, when they identified the cancer. Very interesting scenario, where I've never seen any process move so quickly from identification to shipment to any hospital. But that's a long story, different story by itself. So that's the reason we moved to your place. And I stayed with you for what, 45 days?
Yeah, more than a month.
I don't know if you recall that, because I
remember it was just 2 months or something. It was a long time.
I stayed with you for 45 days straight. Yeah. And then I left and went back to Fort Stewart, and intermittently I was coming back because Julie stayed in the hospital for almost 4 months.
Yes, you come back, yes.
So I keep coming back intermittently, and a couple of times I brought I brought Joy, which is my daughter. Julie had a kid, and she was only 2 years old when we got married. So that's Julie's daughter with an ex named Joy. And then we had my son, Corbin Jr.
Yes,
so we keep coming back intermittently. Besides, we were splitting places between your place and the Fisher House on
Georgia Avenue.
Yes, because you can make reservations and stay in the Fisher House, and that was free. And if I could not get reservation in the Fisher House, then I would come to your place.
Yes, indeed. Those are good days, and Julie's doing well now.
Samara was a baby; she was newly born.
That's right.
I remember that. Samara was little tiny Samara.
That's right. She's very little. Yes, indeed. She's no more. She's a grown woman now. But those are good days. So, Corbin, how would you describe your time in the service, the 31 years?
31 years, it was really, really gratifying. Of course, with every career you have chosen, there are going to be hard times and there are going to be good times. But you need to navigate that and understanding with any organization, as you move from location to location, there is an embedded culture. And people establish that culture. So the institution itself is not bad. Are the people within the institution that makes the institution bad? Yeah. So people need to keep that in mind. So the Army was very, very tough during our days because we grew up during the Cold War time. So the training was very tough. What I mean by the Cold War, that's when the Soviet Union had what they call the Warsaw Pact.
That's right.
The Warsaw Pact included Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Herzegovina, Montenegro. So before the war came down in '89, the Berlin Wall came down. All of that was the Warsaw Pact, and our major training, both stateside and overseas, was to defend against the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Defend against the Soviet Union, breaking through from the Eastern Bloc countries to invade the Western Bloc countries. That have always been a scenario, and that's one of the things we trained for. So the training was very tough and rigorous, very, very frequent, and we have always been told and trained for, where we would be outnumbered 5-1.
Yes, yes.
So
And I remember you said to me when you went to Yugoslavia during the Bosnia War, you saw some Soviet equipment. Give me a comment on that and the way it was kept compared to the US.
when they had the Yugoslavia war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we were one of the initial units to go in during that in December of 1995. During September, October, we were planning for a full-scale invasion of Bosnia so we can stop the carnage, stop the atrocity and the ethnic cleansing. However, international community get involved, and they brought in the factions into Dayton, Ohio, and they brokered an agreement, and then it was known as the Dayton Peace Accord. So we enter into Bosnia to separate the different factions, the Serbs from the Croats, to stop the carnage, to stop the ethnic cleansing. And we went in there under the Dayton Peace Accord agreement. So that's how, when we went into Bosnia and we occupied some of these old Soviet bloc military installations, I was very, very much surprised to see the condition and the operational functional and the age of the equipment, which they were counting as part of their full operational ready equipment to go to war. Yes. It was in sad shape, dysfunctional, inoperative, and it's no way they would have sustained against us.
So you're saying that all the stuff, all the hype that had been made was really overhyped?
It was much overhyped.
Yeah.
However, at the highest level and at the intelligence may have known some of that data.
Yeah.
Of course, it was not shared with the lower subordinate units down to our level, because the objective is to get us to remain sharp, to hold our skills and prepare ourselves in case that invasion ever happened.
Indeed. By the way, is the photograph showing?
Yes, that photograph is showing, yes.
So tell me the rank, how you move from rank. You come in as a PFC.
I joined the military as a PFC, which is private first class.
That's private first class, okay?
Private first class. And after I graduated basic training and advanced individual training, I moved to Fort Polk, and then I earned the rank of specialist, which is one rank. I stayed in Fort Polk for about a little less than 2 years, Fort Polk, Louisiana. And then I permanent change of duty station, PCS, to Germany. Again, Galstedt, Germany. I stayed there for 5 years. And that was really a fun installation. That's where Julie and I met. I played soccer for the post-installation team. I also played soccer on a German team. I played with the Bremen Werder semi-professional farm team in Bremen, Germany, while serving as a soldier. And then I earned my E5 rank. And by that time, I'm now 3 years into the service.
Okay.
I stayed in. By the time I hit 7 years, I moved to Fort Stewart, Georgia, where I also earned another rank, which is Staff Sergeant E6.
Okay. So E5 is what? Sergeant?
E5 is Sergeant. That's the fundamental phase of the basic non-commissioned officer corps, what they call the NCO. And as an E5, you're in charge of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 soldiers as a squad leader. Sometimes some squad leader can be an E6 or an E5. In my case, in the logistic world, I was a squad leader as an E5, and I had 6 soldiers up underneath me. And believe it or not, my 6 soldiers I had underneath me that worked for me, we're still friends today.
Amazing, amazing. I remember meeting a lawyer or a court worker who said she was a lieutenant and you saved her life.
Yes, that was Hermione Morgan.
Yes.
Colonel Hermione Morgan. I
Yeah.
knew her when she was a lieutenant. I knew her when she was a captain. And then after she got promoted to major. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. She
Yeah,
thought
so
she spoke very high. You know, it's funny. I'm walking out of court, right?
we are
And I
still friends today.
I know. I said good morning or something, and she heard my accent, and she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Dominica." She said, "Dominica." My very best friend who saved my life in the army, he's from Dominica. I said, "What's his name?" Oh, my head. She said, Corbin Skerrit. I said, "What a small world." I said, "That's my first cousin, you know."
Yeah.
And then I think I called you right away.
You called me and then you put her on the phone and put me on the phone. And I thought when I picked her, I said, hello. And she said, hey, Corbin. And I said, wait a minute, Hermione, what are you doing on Gabe's phone?
That's a small world, my friend. And also, there's a very interesting story. Tell us the story about Tiffany when Tiffany called her friend in Germany, who was Bailey. Bailey, is it Bailey Taylor or Taylor Bailey?
No, Tiffany. We were stationed that was our second duty station. We were stationed in Wiesbaden, Germany, which is 20 k's kind of southwest of Frankfurt. Brian Taylor, who is from Fresno, California, and he's married to his wife. He's married to his wife from Fresno. He was one of my soldiers. Brian Taylor was an Intel MOS guy, and we were in the CASCOM, which is an expeditionary brigade run by a 1-star, and we were working in the 1-star headquarters. So, and that's where we also stationed with Hermione Morgan. Hermione Morgan at the time was a captain and got promoted to major. So I remember when Tiffany enrolled in Georgetown, went to law school.
It was Catholic University of America.
Where?
I went to Georgetown, but she was at Catholic University of America.
Oh, Catholic University. And she went to law school there. She was struggling. So she called her brother-in-law and her sister because Brian Taylor married to her sister.
Okay.
And then or her cousin, something like that.
Some relative.
Yeah, relative. So she called, and then Brian and I were having this conversation about Tiffany struggling in school. And I asked him, oh, where is she at? He said she's in the DC area. And I said, huh? So I said, okay, hey, give me her name, give me her information. Let me see what I can do. And he looked at me mighty strange. So at the time I was a master sergeant. I was the NCOIC of the logistics cell, which is what they call the support operations. And I was in the maintenance division of the support operations. So he looked at me mighty strange. So that's when I called you, Gabe, and I said, hey, look, I need your help. Here this information. This is the individual name. They're in law school. I know you attended Georgetown, you graduated as a lawyer, you have your own law firm. Can you serve as a mentor and also a friend to this individual to help them to get through that rigorous law school process? You said, sure. And then you took it and run. You took it and you ran at it.
And today, I want to thank you because
the rest is history.
The rest is history. Tiffany is our very dear friend. Samora's first job was as a babysitter for her first child. And when Samora was small, she took care of her sometimes. She's now a distinguished judge at the circuit court. She's had a lot of distinction. Her husband became the Commerce Secretary of the state of Maryland. In fact, he just got a very big appointment for the Maryland National Park and Planning Commission. So it's a small world, and I just want to thank God for the value of mentorship and of networking our people. How important do you believe is networking in our community to our individual success?
I'm telling you, Gabe, for me to achieve the highest enlisted rank in the military is not something you can do on your own. It requires hard work of you as an individual, but most importantly, you have to network and you have to have a mentor. You got to have a solid mentor that can guide you, that can educate you and facilitate you navigating some of those areas and things that you need to achieve and navigate through to be successful. Without that, I can assure you, without a solid mentor and a solid counselor, if you want to call it that, you will be successful, but you can be much more successful with that type of networking and that type of, you want to call it cocoon around you per se. It's a cocoon because that person embraced you and wrapped themselves around you and then move you around to keep you out of trouble. Two, if you have a rough time, you have someone you can confide with and get good advice, because we all need solid advice. You can get advice anywhere, but is it solid? That's the most important thing. Get to receive solid advice and also help you navigate those hard to achieve things. Because when you have a big institution, there are things you are not aware of that's available, because you at the lowest level may not be versed and have the knowledge of those things. Your mentor will help you bridge that gap for you. In a big institution, you may not be able to get to certain positions. That's important for you to get promoted to the next rank. Your mentor will help you navigate that pathway. So that is very important for that. Any community as well, because I recall even in Dominica, I had mentors. I told you about my Uncle Si. I consider him, besides being my mentor, I consider him one of my mentors. One of my big mentors when I was growing up was Keto Freehour, one of the original general manager of the Gromax. He was a mentor to me. I remember Gabriel, they call him Bolter, because my mom lived in Backstreet for years before we moved to Pappy, and then she moved back to Backstreet again. So Gabriel, which is Bolter, grew up right next door with my babe. He was also going to grammar school. You might know him. But remember, Gabriel was a fast bowler. He bowled for St. Joseph School. He bowled for grammar school, and he migrated to St. Croix. And he also bowled for the St. Croix cricket team in St. Croix. And so Gabriel is well known both in Bolter is well known both in Dominica and in St. Croix. And he also joined the military. Him and Jerry's Brown. So again, those are some of the guys that was my mentor growing up in school in St. Joseph. And then when I moved to St. Croix, Bolter continued to be my mentor. When I joined the military, he also reached out to me as a mentor. So when you have those kind of, you have those kind of mentorship, it helps you navigate through some tough things within whatever career path you choose, and you decide. Not only that, you have someone that can really guide you and keep you out of trouble, because one simple mistake shaped your future.
Indeed. Let me ask you this. What is the duty of a mentor once you've been the beneficiary of somebody else's mentorship? What is your duty to pass it on?
As a mentee, someone who have received mentorship, it is inherent that you pass that on to the people that's coming up behind you, because it's a chain effect. It's a chain. Kind of metaphorically, I want you to look at it as a chain.
Yes.
And if you look at it biblically, when you look at it, you have to give to receive.
Yes.
And if you receive, you have to give. You have to reciprocate the things that you have received. And as a mentee, you cannot keep that to yourself. You have to reciprocate the same thing that I've given to you. It's a gift.
Yes.
And it's not yours to keep.
Amazing. That's
And
so
if
true.
you pass, and you need to pass it on. So you need to find a group of individuals that you can reciprocate the same thing that you have received.
Indeed. I know Auntie Tutu was a very hardworking woman. I mean, she worked in agriculture. She worked at the hospital as a cook. She came to the United States. Tell us about Auntie Tutu and her influence in way of her hard working characteristics and her discipline.
Well, my mom, one, was a hard disciplinarian. She raised all 9 of us by herself, with the strong support of her father. And she believed my mom was not very well educated. She made it through standard 7 in school. And she stayed beside my grandfather's side, and she raised us. And she ensured that we did not have much, but she ensured that we never went hungry.
Stick a pin in there. It's funny you say about much. So all of what you said is true. But when I would come to St. Joseph, Papi's house in the yard was the biggest house apart from Masden's house.
Yeah, well, yes, because Papi was a farmer, and Papi was a really skilled tradesman.
Yeah.
Papi, primary skill was carpentry, if you recall that.
Stick a pin in that. You know what I remember? I remember one summer I came and we all slept on bedding on the floor, right? Papi had the bed and your mother had the bed, but us, the children, we slept on bedding on the floor. And I remember one night before I closed my eyes, I looked up in the ceiling, and there was a huge bandsaw from one end of the ceiling. That was the saw that used to saw trees in the forest. So Papi was a man of many talents.
Yeah, Papi and Mr. Felton from Up the Mon, Mr. Picho from Backstreet, those 3 was known as the 3 amigos in St. Joseph. And they did not call him that, but that's the name I made up for them. Now I've grown up and a little bit more understanding of the process. But those 3 were good friends, and they would go around with that same bandsaw, cut the lumber and make board out of it. That bandsaw, when they cut the lumber, they would map the tree trunks, and they would, one on the top, they would create a scaffold, roll the wood over it, tie the wood down, and then one on the top and one on the bottom, sawing that wood into boards. So Papi was one of those well-known individual to do that. Back in the days, chainsaw was not available.
No chainsaws in my hand.
Chainsaw came much later after that.
Yes.
But when you look at Papi, Mr. Felton from Up the Mon, Mr. Picho, those guys worked together as a team. There were 3 good friends who worked together, and they saw board and sold to people. They saw board and build their own houses, both in the village and out in the farm.
I see. So that's how we were able to build a big house.
Yeah. So, and if you recall it, for people who grew up in St. Joseph, Mr. Picho in Backstreet, directly in front of, behind where we used to live, also had a small shop in there, a very small shop next to his house.
Amazing.
Yeah. And he was, and I can say Mr. Picho, Mr. Felton, I learned a lot from those guys. They were my grandfather's friend, but being around them and being around my grandfather, they helped their work habits, I think, helped shape who I am.
Indeed. Let me ask you a few questions before asking you about your Dominican heritage and how you pass that on to your kids. When you were in Iraq, so you went to Iraq, you went to war conditions in Yugoslavia, you went to war conditions in Iraq. Where else did you go to war conditions, or place where there's conflict?
I went to also Kosovo, which is also part of Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
I also, at the time, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, when Desert Storm, Desert Shield kicked off, my wife.
So hold on. So you're in Iraq twice, in the early 90s, 1991, you were there for the first Desert Storm.
No, I did not attend that. I never made it to Desert Storm, Desert Shield, because I graduated, remember, in October of 90. I was in Aberdeen, Proving Ground, in school, attended my advanced, what they call it, ANAC, which is Advanced Non-Commissioned Officer course. And that I was supposed to graduate in December of 90. That's Iraq invaded Kuwait in June of 90, if you recall that. I went to school in Aberdeen in June of 90, prior to the invasion. And with my MOS, that school was a little 1 week shy of 6 months.
I see.
So while in Aberdeen, the invasion happens. While in Aberdeen, Fort Stewart moved out the division because they were one of the first heavy division to move into Saudi Arabia to slow down the invasion of the Iraqi from moving through Kuwait into Saudi Arabia, because the analysts had indicated that was their intent. So they wanted to put a force to stop that southern invasion from Kuwait to Saudi Arabia. So by the time I get back to Fort Stewart in late October, early November, they had hold all deployments. And as you're aware, the initial invasion was in January, which is only 100 hours. And then they start the redeployment of the troops back from Desert Storm, Desert Shield in late February, early April.
So you only went to Iraq after 9/11, after September?
I went to Iraq after 9/11, and I went to Bosnia, and then I went to Kosovo. Because remember, Kosovo was after Bosnia.
That's right. When you were in Iraq, were you in Baghdad or were you in Fallujah?
When I went to Iraq, I was in Baghdad. My battalion was responsible for logistic support of all of Iraq, because we do what we call local distribution, and we did bulk distribution. What I mean by that is we serve everything, all the organization within the Baghdad area with whatever logistic supplies you need. And I don't know if you're aware, but the logistics is classified into 9 categories of logistics. You have class 1, which is all of your food and subscription. We have class 2, which is some of your consumable items, your material items. We have class 3, which is some of your fuel and stuff like that. We have the class 4 and class 5, which is some of your class 4 is lumber, class 5 is ammunition. The most infamous class 6, which is your alcohol.
So I didn't know that they allowed alcohol in the Army.
No, well, class 6, the alcohol class 6 was only in garrison, not in the deployment.
So you can have a beer. You can have a beer with your meal.
Yes, only in garrison, not on the deployment.
But only on a Sunday. You can only drink on a Sunday.
Well, in the early 80s, you were authorized to have in Germany, and even in some of the stateside organization back in the early 80s and late 80s, and prior to that, you were authorized to have one beer with your lunch.
Okay.
One beer with your lunch. If you have a lunch, you can consume one beer.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So that's
and what was Army food like? Were you talking about chicken and steak and so on?
Well, the Army food is some of it was horrible. You're talking about chicken, steaks, different type of food. But remember when you go to the dining facility, they cook for hundreds of people.
Yes.
So the food sometimes can be horrible because you mass cooking a product, and that's why
you don't have time to season everything the way that we season them.
And then when you go to the dining facility, it's like a rush because you got to go in and eat and make space for someone else to come behind you.
Yes.
So you always, that's why you will find 99% of Army soldiers, we say we do not eat our meal, we swallow our meal.
Yes. And when, there's also a relative of ours, I think it is Leandra's son, who was also in Iraq.
Yes, Samuel Hyacinth, which is my nephew, my daughter's son, with Willie Hyacinth. Him and I was in Iraq at the same time.
Yes, but he got injured. He got rocketed, does he?
Sammy served Iraq twice, and also served. He also went to Afghanistan.
Okay.
He ran over an IED in Iraq on his second tour.
When you say IED, you mean improvised explosive device?
Yes, they are. How you call it? There's an explosive device set in the road, unidentified explosive device. He ran over one of those in Iraq, and he also ran over one of those in Afghanistan. So he got blown up twice.
Amazing. So, but he said, I met him at Auntie Tutu's funeral, your mom's funeral, and he had to be disabled after the job, right?
Yes, he ended up he only served 10 years in the military, and he was medically discharged from the military. So he got 100% for his combat injuries he sustained, both mentally and physically, while serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yes, him and I were stationed in Germany at the same time. A little backstory with Sammy. Sammy joined the military because of me, because he viewed me as a mentor, as a father figure, even though I'm his uncle, because I was stationed in Fort Stewart area. And when we brought my mom up, we moved my mom to the Hinesville area. So my mom established roots in the Hinesville area, Fort Stewart area.
That's Hinesville, Georgia.
Hinesville, Georgia.
And in fact, let's take a pin in that. Both cousin Paula and Auntie Tutu worked on base.
Yes, and my mom brought all the kids, my siblings. She brought Runa, Paula, Clara, and Leandra up to the Hinesville. And of course, Leandra had 4 kids at the time. They all came into that area. Paula had 2 kids at the time. They also came in that area. So Fort Stewart, Hinesville area is kind of home away from home. So when my mom moved in there, through a friend of mine, we were able to get my mom and Paula a job on base. Also, Leandro was working with another really great friend of mine named George Lewis. He ran a private janitorial company, and Leandro worked for him for years as well. George Lewis was another one of my mentors. I met him at Fort Stewart, Georgia. He was a mechanic as well. When I got into the organization, he was a Sergeant First Class, and I was an E5. And he mentored me, and him and I remained friends until he passed. And I'm still kind of a guide and counselors to his 3 kids. His kids still maintain contact with me today. They view me as, they call me Uncle Corbin.
Indeed. God bless you for that, Yes. But you were never rocketed or blown up in Iraq?
We were, because we were in, if you go to the Iraq history and some of the FAB history, if you look up log-based sites, LOG is SEITS, log-based sites. You look that up, it was known as Motorville. That base was being modeled almost every single day. We were being rocketed out because we were in the middle of the Abu Ghraib community in Iraq. And Abu Ghraib is people well known Abu Ghraib, or heard of Abu Ghraib in Iraq for his prison and the prison scandal. But log-based
I put a new picture. I put a new picture on. Can you see it?
That's one of the pictures I sent you.
That's right.
That picture was I was at my retirement ceremony in 2009. Okay. Yes.
And where is that?
That was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Amazing. Amazing.
And the gentleman standing to my left, he was I was the battalion sergeant major, and I had 6 companies that I manage and control. And it was the first sergeant for the Bravo company of the 161 Infantry Battalion.
Amazing.
Out at Fort Jackson, Georgia.
And I see you got a couple of ribbons, but below the ribbons are 2 bars. What are those bars? 2 badges.
Those 2 badges below the ribbons are one of them is my weapons marksmanship badge, and the other one is what we call the automotive wheel expert repairman badge.
I see.
Yeah.
And then the other ribbons are for your service in different areas.
The other ribbons are, and that ribbons you see in there, I had the service ribbon, I had the good conduct medal, I have I had an expeditionary ribbon from my previous unit in Germany. I had the non-commissioned officer corps ribbon, the good conduct medal ribbon, the overseas ribbon, the Iraqi campaign ribbon. I had the Legion of Merit, the ARCOM. I had several ARCOMs. I had let me open that up a little bit. Yeah, so the top one is what they call I had the Bronze Star. I earned the Bronze Star while in Iraq. So that's all of the ribbons you see in there. And
the Bronze Star is the Bronze Star is a very important medal, isn't it?
Yes, the Bronze Star, and when you earn it in combat, is a pretty high medal. You earn it for your combat achievements in combat, and so I was awarded that. Not with valor. You can be awarded with valor. That's if you engage in combat and you did something extraordinary during that engagement, but you also can earn it through other combat operations. That's non-valor. So okay. I earned that. And the one on my right are really unit citations. The unit I serve with, one of the citations was a permanent citation for me out of Germany. There were 3 citations on my right side. One of them was a citation I earned from one of my units in Germany, and the other 2 was a citation of the unit that I served with. And the badge you see above that citation is my Ordnance Affiliation Regimental Crest. That is something we take on that is my Ordnance Regimental Affiliation. And the tab you seen on my shoulder, you seen on my left and right shoulder, those are what they call leadership tab. And if you notice, there's a little a little crest on the top of it. That's the
Yeah.
unique crest that I'm assigned to.
Outstanding. Let me ask you a question. Did your accent or someone from the Caribbean ever hold you back?
America has a lot of bad behaviors racially, and some of it also migrates into the military, because what people fail to understand, the population of the military recruits from its general population within the community across all of the states. And in the population, in the community across all of the states, there are some not so good habits. And when we recruit individuals and you go through the Army basic training, it's really an indoctrination of breaking you down from a civilian into a soldier. And part of that indoctrination and training and changing of behaviors and understanding the military and being prepared to become a soldier is the psychological breakdown of that process. Some people adopt the culture of the military, and the culture of the military is to see everyone equal. But let's face it, human dynamics, not everyone is going to conform. There are a certain percentage of any population that's not going to conform to the culture of the organization you are in. So my accent sometimes clashes with those bad behaviors, and the experience was not so pleasant. But for most part, people took, because the Army is a true melting pot, because as I stated, we recruit from our economy, our society within the different states, different community areas, and you have people from all walks of life. Okay. So you have people in the Army from that same demographic you're recruiting from that comes into the Army from all walks of life.
Indeed.
So as personally, there were some bad people, but for most part, no, it did not. It hindered me a little bit, but it did not derail me or stop me from achieving.
Because you were able to achieve the highest rank of a non-commissioned officer, which is Command Sergeant Major.
Yes. And I would tell you, Gabe, people need to think. Sometimes you set goals for yourself. And if you are an individual who intend to achieve your goals, you should not allow someone else to derail you from that objective. So for me, you talk about discipline of my mom, and we never really finished that discussion. My mom was a very disciplinary individual. She was very disciplined, and she demanded us to be that way. She demanded us to take education seriously. She demanded us to, if we're gonna go into a career field, make sure it's a solid career field, something that we can live with and take it seriously and achieve the highest we can. So that was instilled into me from my mom, and most importantly, Papi.
Yeah.
See, Papi shaped who I am.
Yes. And when you say Papi, you mean Papi Aaron John Baptist?
Papi Aaron John Baptist, my grandfather from home. He shaped, and my upbringing shaped who I am. Understanding where I came from and what I intend to achieve while I'm in the military, I am not going to allow someone to derail me from my objective. So yes, that attitude and that mentality enabled me to achieve the highest rank in the military.
And what habits did you have to pursue to get you to that rank?
When you say habits,
Well, studied effort.
Well, one of the things I had to do, as I told you, I joined the military in '79. I went to my first duty station in October of '79, and I started going to school, college, immediately in January of '80. And so that's one of the, to me, that was a catalyst for me achieving that, is to obtain a college degree. I obtained my first college degree, which is my AA degree, while I was stationed in Germany in '83.
Okay.
So, and then I also went to all my non-commissioned officer schools that I could have attended for my rank of every subsequent rank I attend. There were also military proficiency skills you had to pass. I make sure I trained and passed all of those. Also, my being proficient in my job, I did that. And then also while in Germany, I took a lot of corresponding courses in my own MOS, like different electronic classes, different mechanical classes, corresponding. So I make sure I took all the classes I could have possibly taken, and I was maxed out in correspondence. In the total
so stick a pin in that. So that is what I mentioned, studied effort. So early on, within 2 or 3 years, you had your first degree. And then you had a bachelor's, you had an AA, then you had a bachelor's, then you had a master's. In fact, you have 2 masters or 1.
I have 1, and I was pursuing a second one and decided to stop.
Okay. So, most people don't have
one. I was pursuing, it was in positive psychology with the University of Pennsylvania, and I get halfway through that process and I stopped.
And the thing about it is, Corbin, most people don't have 1 degree. Most people don't have an associate's degree. So for you to have had associates, bachelor's, master's, going on a second, and maxing out your corresponding courses tells me that you used your education as a lever to overcome any difficulties you may have had. Am I correct?
Yes, that's
so
absolutely true.
Would you then encourage young people who are entering the service to approach it in the same fashion?
It's kind of funny you asked that question. Because one of my mentors I had in Germany was Jerry Packer. Jerry Packer, a W3 Caucasian guy from Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah. Yes, Caucasian from Louisville, Kentucky.
Deep South.
Say again, Deep South, Dirty South. He was one of the mentors in Germany. And this gentleman set an environment for you to be successful if you follow the path he laid out for you. He ensured that all his soldiers that worked for him, that he mentored, took college classes. And if you did not enter in college, back in the days, he would stigmatize you, call you a big dummy, call you names, and that was his means of demeaning you so you can change your trajectory and get yourself into school.
Amazing.
Back in the days, those type of language was accepted in the military.
Yeah.
So it made you stronger.
He basically is embarrassing you. He's saying you're a big dummy. You're saying he's trying to push you. He's trying to push you.
He pushes you through words of the meaning to encourage you to move forward, for you to grow.
Yes.
And he did that with not just me, with every soldier who worked for him.
Yes, indeed.
So some of the guys I told you we are still friends in Germany, they will tell you the same thing. This guy was the catalyst of them understanding what the military looked like and what they need to do to get promoted.
So basically what you're saying to me, Cousin Cobbing, is that you need to be strong mentally to accept positive criticism, because that's what
Yes,
that was. That
that's exactly what
you
it
should
is.
not get emotional in
No,
reacting in a negative way and feeling sad for yourself. But when someone is trying to say, look, discipline, industry, studied effort or
education.
education, those are necessary. You need to just respond by getting going and getting it done. Is that right?
That's correct. And we call that being thick-skinned. You have to, in order for you to be successful and pushed, you have to be thick-skinned. You cannot be sensitive.
That's right.
You
Okay.
cannot. If you're sensitive, you're gonna have pity on your own self,
That's right.
and you're gonna think everyone around you are your enemies when, in
Indeed.
essence, they are not.
Indeed.
It's your viewpoint of how you mentally process the type of encouragement you are receiving in order to help you to be successful.
Okay. We are going through a very interesting time in U.S. history, and the military, like the society, is confronting those interesting times. How important do you think is equality of opportunity and respect for the legacy of the Buffalo Soldiers, the U.S. colored troops, the Munford Point Marines, the Triple Nickels, and the Tuskegee Airmen in maintaining a multiracial democracy?
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny you said that. I'm gonna zoom into this picture here. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
That's a picture of the Buffalo Soldiers.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna zoom into another picture. That's another picture of the Buffalo Soldiers.
That's right.
I'm gonna zoom into another one.
Buffalo Soldiers.
Buffalo Soldiers.
Yes, sir. Buffalo Soldiers. I don't see any Tuskegee Airmen yet, but Buffalo Soldiers all the way.
No, but this is one of the only female.
I think this is U.S. colored troops from the Civil War.
That's actually, yes, she was a Buffalo soldier, but she disguised herself as a male. And I'll give you the backstory behind that.
Okay.
And this guy here was part of he also right after the Civil War, he was one of the first major to come up.
No, I think this is Matthew Delaney.
Yes, that's exactly who he is.
Yeah, that's Matthew Delaney. So Matthew Delaney, let the record reflect, was the first African-American major in the U.S. Armed Forces during the Civil War.
Correct.
He was
That's correct.
commissioned under President Lincoln. Yeah.
So I
have a different picture of him that my wife bought me in the basement, but
yes.
it's not colored like that. I think it's black and white. So
yes.
basically, you showed me these pictures of the descendants of the U.S. colored troops, the Buffalo Soldiers, who are African-American soldiers who settled the West. Why did you, when I mentioned the importance of multiracial democracy in the armed forces?
Well, because I show you those pictures because when you look at the history of the Buffalo Soldiers, which is the 9th and the 10th Cavalry of the U.S. Army, the Buffalo Soldiers is really a nickname that was given to the African-American soldiers, exclusive African-American soldiers, by the native Western Indians.
Yes.
And how they achieved that name is through their rigorous and tenacity and brute fighting during the Western exploration and Western settlement of the United States. So people know the 9th and 10th Cavalry, or people refer to as the Buffalo Soldiers. But remember, the Buffalo is that nickname have been adopted as official name, but that's really a nickname that was given to them, and that's the
by the Native American.
Yes, by the Native American. So that's being said, as I talked about the Army recruit within this community and society of all the states within the United States. All of those community and society are diversified because America is a true melting pot. African American introduced to America through the process of slavery, right? Initially, the European moved to America. So quote unquote, they're trying to find the Newfoundland and trying to establish new settlements. So that's the introduction of the Anglo-Saxon, European Anglo-Saxon into the American. And then of course we have slavery, then we went to the Civil War, we went to different type of conflict. So that's being said, it's important to recognize our population in our society is diversified, and equality is for all of us, because when we serve this nation, we're supposed to protect this country from foreign interventions. We're supposed to keep a democracy, because America is the foundation of democracy. Okay, and to maintain our way of life, the military is the one that's at the tip of the spear in its defense to maintain that democracy way of life. So
yes, that is what is, of course, you say it's the indoctrination. That is what because we know that when the United States started in 1776, there was slavery, and that's why it took the Civil War to end slavery, so we could see that democracy didn't belong just to a few white people, but that it belonged to everyone. So the history of the country is a history of moving forward. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And to continue moving forward, it is important then for all aspects of the military to be respected, not just the white military members, but also the African Americans, the Hispanic, the Native Americans.
Respected equally. Yes. To be respected equally.
Yes, indeed.
And when you're looking at positions, promotions, they should be promoted and put in positions equally based on their qualification.
Okay.
Because no one get a promotion because of the color of the skin. That should not happen. It should be equally based on the individual achievements and success.
Indeed.
Right? And qualification. So it's important to remember that. And that's why I keep, those are the, I use those pictures, I use the concept of the Buffalo Soldiers as my North Star, per se, that keep me grounded. And when I walk into my house, before I go to work, that's the first thing I see. When I come back from work, that's the first thing I see. So again, it's in my forefront. When I leave my house and I'm going to work, that's the last thing I see. Yes. And that's the last thing that etched into my mind. So those are my North Star. That's who keep me grounded to who I am.
Indeed. And Corbin,
working that with my own upbringing and my own culture helps me to do the right thing.
Yes, indeed. And Corbin, to be honest with you, you've got 9 family members. Of course, Leandra has left us. Mom has left us, and the Tutu has left us, and we are now the seniors. And I know in every family, there's a friend of mine who says in every family there's somebody called, well, they don't call them that, but in French they say chef de famille. Chef de famille means it's somebody who takes care of everybody else. Would you say that you, Command Sergeant Major, you're the chef de famille?
My wife Julie, she reminds me of that every day. She said, if something happened, now mind you, my dad also had 9 kids.
Yes.
Right. And I'm close to the kids, my siblings on my father's side.
Yes.
If something happened when it comes to the family aspect, they call me, because I'm the one that reach out and try to do as much as I can. If something happened to the siblings on my mother's side, they call me.
Yes,
And my wife, unlike my wife, her family reached out to her as well. And my wife, Julie, also retired from the military as well, 20 years.
Yes.
And
she was a sergeant major, wasn't she?
No, she retired as a sergeant first class.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and if it was not for her illness, she would have achieved a lot more rank. But being ill with the cancer and treatment and repeated treatment and episodes over the last 10 years of her career kind of derailed her career for promotion.
Yes.
And again, it's back to promotion should be given to individual of success and achievements. My wife was very successful, but however, with the last 10 years of her career, because she was going through all the medical changes, she was overlooked for promotion because her performance as a soldier was kind of derailed by adversities per se.
Indeed. We know Julie's story because we were part of that story. As I said, before we had any kids, you and Julie were with us. And we thank God for the opportunity to have been there for a family member. But as we come to the end of this interview, I'm just going to ask you, tell me what your children are doing now. And then I have another question about Dominica and what your example of success means.
Well, we have 4 kids. My first son, Dominic, he graduated from Georgia Southern University, and he's running his own trucking business. My daughter, my oldest daughter, which is my stepdaughter, Joy, she attended the University of Maryland. She did not fully graduate. However, she is one of the supervisors that work with PricewaterhouseCoopers. She works in the HR department, and she does hiring and firing. She's doing that now up in the Northern Virginia area because we were stationed beside being hanging out with you in the mid-90s. We were also stationed in the DC area during 9/11, because when 9/11 happened, we were in DC at the time. Matter of fact, Judy and myself both got caught up in the 9/11 hoopla in the Pentagon, and she worked for the Navy Yard out in Maryland. So we got caught up in that. April also graduated from University of Georgia, both with an undergrad and a master's, and she is in finance, and she is the comptroller and the lead HR for her organization. She works for a nonprofit organization in Athens, Georgia. And the company is really national. It's a national company, a nonprofit organization. And April is married with 2 kids. Dominic is married with 2 kids. And Joy is single with 1 kid. And the 1 kid was our grandbaby, Alyssa. She recently graduated from VCU in Richmond 2 years ago with a double major, undergrad in African American study and an undergrad in psychology.
Yeah, and that's Virginia Commonwealth University.
Yeah,
and then Junior.
And then my youngest son, Junior, he graduated from University of Virginia, UVA, with an undergrad in engineering. And he's a fully certified engineer, and he's running the engineer department with 4 engineers working for him. He's the youngest engineer in the department, but he's the lead supervisor because he's the only engineer that's fully certified with all his certification for the city of San Francisco.
So he's civil. Is he civil engineer or mechanical?
He's civil engineer.
Outstanding.
With a specialty, he also have a master's from George Mason University in what they call road network communication, which means enable to build roads to enable traffic to move freely to reduce congestion.
Outstanding.
So that's still his field.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and then our April's oldest daughter, which is Chloe, she just recently enrolled the first year on a double full scholarship. She have a full sports scholarship for soccer and also a full academic scholarship. at the University of South Carolina State, which is a historical Black college, one of the only state-funded public historical Black college in the nation. And she's going there to study engineering as well.
Outstanding. Well, Corbin, you've done very well with your kids, you and Julie. And, and I want to ask you this final two questions. How would you like your service as a Dominican, a parent, a mentor, and a command sergeant major to be remembered?
Well, I would like to be remembered as a command sergeant major who one, know his skills, know his stuff, and most importantly, leading and taking care of soldiers. And if you talk to some of my subordinates, my peers and superior, that's what I am known for. Because, example, while we were deployed to combat in Iraq, I coached and mentored some of my senior officers because I was one of the most experienced logistical guy in the unit. So we're able to help my guys establish plans and processes to facilitate our mission and to support our unit, our customer units.
Indeed. And finally, what message would you leave for the people of St. Joseph and Dominica in general about the village's role in shaping the man and leader that you became?
Well, from me going back home and visiting St. Joseph frequently, I go home maybe once every 2 years, and seeing the village is on a very good development track. But what concerned me are the younger generation in the village, the culture and values. It takes a true village to raise a family, and it takes a true village to support your neighbors and your friends to your left and to your right. That culture is slowly diminishing, and you're seeing a lot of conflict, a lot of infighting, a lot of burglary, a lot of murders. That's something that was not known, because if you go back to the history of St. Joseph, back in the days when you and I were growing up, St. Joseph was known. St. Joseph fellers, what we call the guys, were known to circle around each other and protect each other and take care of each other. Because if we were to go out of the village and somebody interfere or harm another St. Joseph guy, fella or lady, as a group, we all got together, go to that village and took care of business and come back. That culture is totally being eroded. It's like more individualism, and it's like a dog-eat-dog's world. The development is great, but the culture and the community type atmosphere where people truly believe in community and taking care of each other, that piece is being diminished. I think we need to work on that.
Indeed, indeed. And so, Corbin, as we conclude, I just want to say that you're very correct. We need to work on this community, what I call community love, and to make our contributions. We're doing that best we can with the cadet program, the Dominica Cadet Corps. We build Dominica and trying to send books to the schools and trying to see if we can guide people in the way that you guided yourself. You know, you educated yourself. You didn't just, as you say, rest on your laurels. You maxed out your corresponding courses. That's a very, very important thing. You know, you seized the opportunity. So I just want to say we're very proud of you. Very thankful that you're a member of our family. We pray for our members of our families who are going, our family right now, who are going through difficult times in health. As we get older, you know, health issues come up. But Corbin, I just want to render, I don't have my headdress, but a warm salute. For, I know we gave a salute to Auntie Tutu in 2024, and then shortly after that, you know, within months, you know, her bigger sister, Auntie Alberta, your aunt, my mom died. So God bless you, my friend, and thank you very much for sharing the story of a Dominican Command Sergeant Major, someone who blazed the trail and was a leader of men and women in the U.S. Armed Forces, and who, through his constant visits to Dominica, has also contributed to the economic development of his village and his country. Thank you very much, sir.
You are welcome, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my experience and share my career path with the with you and your broadcasting team. Thanks.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Take care.
Thanks.